Diablo 4 is so desperate, it's gonna be free to play over Christmas and probably after that, and then it's gonna be on a huge discount. Because please, Diablo 4 superfans, tell me more about how Diablo is doing so great. If a game is doing so great, it doesn't do this. A game does this when they are desperate, when they have lost too many players, and when effectively it's almost over. I told you this how long ago? The Diablo 4 is dead? From the moment they started copying everything that Diablo 3 did, it was over. And it is over. I know you wanna kick, scream, and struggle and not go into the light, but you need to understand Diablo 4 has been dead for a long time. And yeah, it still probably has an actual sizable player base, but no one gives a shit. It's the same apathy game as current retail World of Warcraft. It's the same apathy game as Overwatch. And Path of Exile 2 is here. And it's gonna take a lot from Diablo 4. The collapse of Blizzard has slowly started. And it's beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ackle here. Of course, welcome back to each and every one of you. Now, I was actually well on my way to my off weekend where I'm not going to work because I'm, sort of tired from the week. I've made a lot of videos this week about average.
Does bro have a similar haircut to mine? No way! You can't do that. That's illegal. You're like American or something, aren't you?
Averaging, I think, 5 or 6 videos a day. But then this little nugget of just excitement came across my desk, and I knew I absolutely had to talk about that.
And if you're thinking maybe he's British or Australian, Australia is a prison colony from Britain. And whose fault do you think it is that America exists in the first place?
Now, Path of Exile 2 launched sort of like 2 weeks ago, I think, 2 weeks ago now, to early access. And, this is a game that's actually supposed to be free to play, but it launched to $30 for the early access, going all the way up to like $100 pack and even $500 packs for people that really want to support it. And I don't think it comes as a surprise to anyone that Path of Exile 2 has been absolutely knocking it out of the park. It is.
So many people got the $400 pack. It's insane. Because it is worth it. It is worth it. Okay? This is a small thing that people forget about, honestly, a lot. And it's the fact that if your game is good, people are gonna support you. If your game is good and it hits home exactly where you want, people are gonna just spend money on it. You don't need to you don't need to pull any of the Blizzard trickeries with the conversions. You don't need to pull any of the battle pass shenanigans like Blizzard constantly does. You don't need to do that. If a game is good and people like it, people will just spend money on it to support it. For example, Path of Exile is obviously one of these things. People support the GGG. There's a lot of people who support GGG and they just buy the new stuff when it comes out. They don't even actually care what it is. They don't care that they don't really like it too much. They just buy stuff time to time to support the game that they like. They have a little bit of expandable income and it feels good to support the things that you like, right? Another game that does this but is of lower prominence is actually Lost Ark. One of my favorite games of all time, the actual hard game to play, okay? Not any of that bullshit. Oh, Elden Ring is complicated. A boss has 3 mechanics. Yeah, and they're poorly telegraphed. Yeah. How about Lost Ark, where your average boss has 30 mechanics and they're all good telegraphed? Okay? In that game, people buy skins also, just to support the company. Skin comes out, people buy it for supporting the company because we like the game that much. It happens. You don't need to nickel and dime to be successful and make money. People are going to support you if your product is good enough. Very simple. But not for Blizzard because all they make is shit.
What everyone sort of hoped Diablo 4 would become and what Diablo 4 would have been. Remember, Blizzard promised a lot with Diablo 4, with Diablo 3 being such a big step back from what people
The classic Blizzard overpromise, underdeliver strategy. Beautiful.
were hoping Diablo 3 was going to be, following the absolute blinding success of Diablo 2. Diablo 4 was supposed to be Blizzard's promising return to form, right? This was the game that's going to take them back. They're back in the ARPG market and they're coming in bigger and better than ever. And Blizzard had every opportunity to come back bigger and better than ever. You know, they had Path of Exile 1 to look to. They have Lost Ark to look to. There were so many ARPGs on the market that were trying new things and trying to be different things for different people. So Diablo 4 really had no excuse to not be good. And then the game launched, and most people were sort of going, wait,
This is shit.
this is the base that you have? And really, I said from the beginning, Diablo 4 feels like a Diablo game made by a bunch of people that never actually played Diablo. It feels like an ARPG that was made by a bunch of developers that's never actually played ARPGs.
Yep, this is what I'm saying about pretty much every dev at Blizzard at this point. World of Warcraft devs have never played any other game but World of Warcraft. Diablo devs, it's a miracle if they have even played current Diablo, honestly. And, well, Overwatch, Mikey Bear literally came out and called Widowmaker a copy of Black Widow. Everyone at Blizzard doesn't play games. And some people are saying, oh, they do. They care about... No, they don't. No, they don't. I completely refuse to believe this. Anyone who has played any other ARPG could not make the mistakes that Diablo 4 did. And you need to understand, the Diablo franchise is one of the most well-known games in the whole goddamn entire world. If you ask a gamer, even if you ask your typical girl gamer who is on level 5372 of Candy Crush, because that's what counts as a girl gamer, they're probably gonna say, oh yeah, I have heard about Diablo. Yeah, it's just that popular. And Blizzard completely just dropped the ball on this. You need to understand that anything below an average of 1 million players playing Diablo per day is effectively a ginormous fail for Blizzard.
There's a bunch of developers that were told by some marketing department, hey, you know what really works at the moment? ARPGs. Make an ARPG. And they set out to do it. And then I got confirmation of this with the first big patch that was meant to fix a lot of the problems in the game. And even before the patch came out, so when Blizzard was still doing their blue posts about what they think they're going to be fixing in the game, a lot of the content creators and people that are far more knowledgeable than me on ARPGs were talking about this going, wait, but what are you doing? Like, these changes are absolutely not going to fix anything.
Yep.
And then the patch goes live. It breaks all of the things that the actual ARPG players warned about.
And by the way, you know what the he's not, I can already tell he's not going to mention it. But what he's saying is completely true. But the part that I don't think he's going to mention from the way that he's talking about is the fact that Blizzard did this, and then Blizzard didn't learn a single shit from this, making this mistake. But literally everyone in unison said that these are not the things that anyone cares about. And then Blizzard just did it again. You need to remember that the first 4 seasons of Diablo 3 were effectively Blizzard just completely ignoring everything the majority of the player base is saying and doing whatever the fuck they felt like. They completely ignored the player base. And now what's happening is, now they're suddenly listening to the player base, but the player base is no longer. The player base for Diablo 4 at this moment is people who literally don't care. They have never read a single patch note. They play for literally 5 minutes a day. And the people who care slightly more think the game is amazing, 10 out of 10 masterpiece, and are gonna die on that hill no matter what. And any change that you make, they're gonna be happy about it because they're just, well, they're just that lost in the sauce. So As I have said many times before, this is exactly what happened to Diablo 3, by the way. The same exact thing. I have said this before. Diablo 4 is the exact same story as the downfall of Diablo 3.
Blizzard then releases another patch, and a lot of people sort of, as if with amnesia, praises Blizzard, especially the media, for being very responsive and absolutely listening to the player base and being quick on the trigger. I say, well, actually, if they were quick on the trigger, they would not have released the patch in that state in the first place. And then the second patch comes around, and Blizzard does exactly the same thing.
Oh,
And again, I have to fix the patch afterwards. That was all the confirmation that I needed. That Diablo 4, the developers behind that game really didn't know how to make a good ARPG. And then to put like the cherry on top, just a little boop on top, was Path of Exile 2. When Path of Exile first launched and I got my hands on it, I knew within like the first 2 hours, this is an ARPG
yep.
made by people that understand what an ARPG is. It was very different to Path of Exile 1, and that's one of the reasons why Grinding Gear Games have said that they're continuing development on Path of Exile 1. Like, that's not stopping. Path of Exile 2 is not meant to be a replacement to Path of Exile 1. It's meant to be a different game to Path of Exile 1. So people who love the fast-paced sort of just blow things up, Path of Exile 1 style, they can still do that. And then people that want a more methodical, more almost strategic playtime with Path of Exile 2, they'd be able to do that. You look at the amount of in-game stuff that's in the game, it in early access already blows everything that Diablo 4 had on offer out of the water. And then, of course, the first big DLC for Diablo 4 comes around, and it finally puts the game at a place that most people agree this is the level that it should have been on at launch. So
Don't misunderstand. It's not good. It's not good. Again, I have. This is something that constantly needs to be reminded. Average game, Diablo 4 at launch. Average game, Diablo 4 when expansion releases. So, Diablo 4 is technically in a better position than it was, but it's still shit.
So it took them almost a year to finally get the game to a playable state where it's actually a decent ARPG. Now, even there, first patch almost immediately broke a bunch of things. Second patch didn't do much better. And it's just been an incredibly rocky road for Diablo 4. Now, sadly, we don't really have numbers for Diablo 4. Because even if I go on Steam charts, for example, this really doesn't tell the full story. Because Diablo 4, it's not really on Steam. Remember, it first launched on Battle.net. And
yeah, this is most likely 10% of the player base because the Battle.net launcher is actually good. People do use it. Well, it's actually complete shit, don't honestly get me wrong. But it is good for Blizzard games. So, I think this represents like 10% of the active player base at any given time. Probably around that. Hard to say how much exactly, but I think this is probably 10-ish%. And yeah, most of them are, and technically a game with almost 100k most likely concurrent players, from which most likely roughly 50% are bots. The bot market for Diablo 4, by the way, is huge. Yeah, that's a thing that you kind of need to take into account. 50k to 100k players is good for almost any game, but it's not good for Diablo 4. This shit should have had 1 million concurrent players, but it doesn't.
from Battle.net, it was very later ported to Steam. Now, there is an argument to be made here that the whole reason, so the reasoning from Blizzard to launch this on Steam was because it wasn't actually selling as well on Battle.net as they had hoped. So that could absolutely, definitely still be true. But
not. Diablo 4 sold extremely well. Again, Diablo is one of the strongest franchises in the world. Okay? But they bled players. The whole problem with Diablo 4 is the fact that it has bled players and it has never gained players. Like, no matter what they do, the game is just bleeding out at stupendously high rates. That is the reality of Diablo 4. This is why they are putting it on Steam. This is why they're now doing a free-to-play Christmas thing. These are all the trademark hallmarks of games that are failing to retain players, games that have a below subpar player numbers.
Even with that, these are not really numbers. Like, we can't take these numbers at face value. And that's what makes this story, I think, a lot more prominent and a lot more pertinent. Diablo 4 is free until January, and it lets you play as its most busted class. This is the Spiritborn, of course.
Bro, PC Gamer, this news site has been paid by Blizzard to do so much coverage for them. It's insane. They're bad mouthing Path of Exile 2 as bad, slow, boring, and they're constantly comparing how Diablo 4 is just so much better than PoE 2. And there's no way Blizzard has not given a donation to them or something like that.
And Blizzard is inviting everyone to just come on a rampage. Now, it is important to note that this isn't the first time that Blizzard has done this with Diablo 4. They have been desperately trying to get players to actually try this game out. In fact, I think Diablo 4 has been free more than any other game I have ever seen, dude. Like, this game goes through free cycles pretty much every few months, where they're going for like a week free on this side, a week free on that side. And this latest one actually coincides with a massive 40% discount, as well as a 35% discount if you buy the whole package. That includes, of course, the brand new DLC for the game. The thing is, it's not so
Odd? Is he Russian? I think odd is rubles. And considering it's in the hundreds, is he? I do not know.
much that it is on this free-to-play cycle. They're trying to get people's interest. I have no problem with games trying to do some promotions here and there. The reason this particularly is a very weird and awkward time is it's right around Christmas. This is the time where most people are most excited to spend money. Not in January. The fact that you can play this game right up until January, in January, people don't have money to be spending on games. So the fact that Blizzard is giving it away for free now, during a time where most games will actually recoup a lot of their costs, that is significant. Remember, they have the actual physical live stats in the office, so they can see the numbers, and they can probably see when Path of Exile came out, they can see, whoa, that's a lot of players that we just lost there. And of course, when we look at Path of Exile, that is 350,000 people playing right now. And I would like for you to just take a look. That is almost at the peak, right? So this game,
And by the way, it's not dropping. And people are constantly just talking good about PoE 2, including myself, obviously. Now, there are issues, don't get me wrong, but those issues don't matter. In the grand scheme of things, they're just literally, okay, we tweak the drop rate by 0.1% and we're all Gucci, okay? Look at this. Now, this is what you want. And when this thing goes free to play, it's over. It's over.
is going from strength to strength, and it's been like this for a while, by the way. Like,
Yep.
you can see here, these numbers are stable as hell. They are very, very, very rarely actually dipping. And you know a game is a good game when on its first weekend, it hits 539, then 578. Then it goes through a bit of a slump, not really that bad, but the next weekend, it's back to almost previous highs, right?
Yep.
You know that that is a good game. The game has been able to survive 2 weekends. So people are clearly putting in the work. People are loving this game. You compare it to this clearly, but that's not the whole picture. This is the picture. This is what you should be focusing on. Diablo 4 is in trouble. Blizzard knows that Diablo 4 is in trouble. Diablo 4 was really...
You know what's gonna save it? Taking two lesbian developers from Diablo 4 and putting them in front of a camera and allowing them to play Diablo 4 for the second time in their lives and yet again talk about how awesome it is to be lesbians. That's what we need. That is what we need, boys. It's gonna be great. It's gonna save Diablo. You know how it be. Anyway, I'll call on TV. 10 out of 10. Have a nice day. Bye bye.